Hello and welcome to the T3 Handicapping YouTube channel. This is Chris from T3 Handicapping, and I am here to go over the post-Pegasus World Cup Rainbow Six mandatory payout sequence that will be taking place on Sunday. That'll be January 30th, 2022. So let's go ahead and take a look at the sequence and see if we can cash some more tickets. Yesterday was obviously a great day. If you played our picks through the Pegasus World Cup, had a ton of success with the picks that we covered in the video. If you're new to the page, this is a whole bunch of different ways you can get in touch with us and follow our picks along, including ways to access our software if you want to purchase that, and then ways you can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. Just quick look back on Pegasus World Cup. We absolutely crushed it. Had a ton of really good selections. I know that it wasn't too difficult to find your way to the late picks, the pick six on Saturday. Hopefully we can continue on Sunday. Although quick preview of the card, things look a little bit tougher here. If you're interested, we do also have Aqueduct, Tampa Bay, Santa Anita, Oaklawn Park, and Fairgrounds. I think I've got them all there. So we've got all kind of the major tracks that are running tomorrow in our portal. You can buy access for just $2 if that's something you're interested in. But we're here today to talk about the Gulfstream Park pick six. There's a Rainbow Six carryover, and we're going to see if we can get you to hit that here. Like I said, it's a really tough sequence, and I just got things loaded into the portal just a couple minutes ago, so I didn't have time to pre-handicap the card, and so you're going to see I'm going to kind of do the handicapping here in real time, and I'm going to tell you this first race is not easy. We're going to class level 18, 8.5 on the inner turf course. So that at least makes it a little more predictable than being on the all-weather. But what doesn't help is we've got 16 runners, and a bunch of them come up over here. They're first-time starters. You can see they're undecideds in their run style. And that just means there's a lot of unknowns. To me, this seems like a major chaos race. This thing over here is new, but if you watched the Pegasus stuff yesterday, you heard me talking about benchmark speed figures and split 100 numbers. That's what's over here, and I'm just going to use that side by side to kind of help myself get through. If you do purchase our handicapping software and you download the BrizNet files and put them in there, this stuff will automatically be calculated. When you look over here, you can see these ones are their benchmark speed figure, and then over here is if they don't have a qualifying race, but they do have something. So in this case, it's just telling me that they're first-time starters. Here, you can see that the numbers don't reach the benchmark. So as I go through this, typically my starting point is usually just the top 4 horses because we do really, really well with those. I don't see a ton of really sharp horses underneath. I can see that Empress of War, which comes in way down here, is definitely one that I would want to include. And that's because this one has the best split 100, so has been sort of a combo class number. Amunet is another one that seems interesting based on that number. Nope, sorry, way below that one. Messariah is the one that I was looking at right here that could be interesting. And then you've got a couple that have run some pretty good numbers, 13, 14, and 16. To me, this seems like a race that's going to go through sort of the top end of the board. I'm probably, as I'm just looking through here, quickly doing a quick run through, I would probably use the 7 and the 16. I'd use the 9 as well. So I go 7, 9, and 16. Sorry for my bad handwriting there. And then I would also be interested in using the 14 at a massive price. I think there's going to be a lot of chaos here in this race, and so I want to make sure that I'm using that. I think Empress at War is interesting as a fringe player. That's where I'd also include maybe the 10 horse here. Messariah, I think, is quite interesting as well. So I'll move that one into the mix. Outside of that, I mean, if I see a first-time starter taking a lot of money, I'll definitely throw that one in. But I think this first leg is going to be one. If you're going to hit that jackpot, this is going to be a key race to hitting that jackpot because you're going to need to go real deep. Moving on to race number 7, we're going 7 furlongs on the dirt. It's a class level 10. And in this one, you can see I have a benchmark speed figure of 83, and I've got 3 horses that run well above that, the 3, the 4, and the 5. And when I look at that, the 3 is sort of the most interesting of those in terms of sort of a mixed class rating. The 6 is also interesting. So this is a group that just doesn't really show a ton of separation. We are on the dirt, so speed matters. I'm not in love with taking a closer, so I'm going to be kind of against Don't Get Cozy a little bit. It's not going to be a hard play against, but I definitely think I'm going to want a horse that's a little bit more forward. So I'm going to start my play here with our fantasy, and I also think that the 1 and I actually kind of like the 2 getting the best of pace and race flow, and on our numbers actually looks good on class. I think that one's a great price in a race that doesn't appear to have a ton of speed. I would use that one on the A line. And again, that's just using kind of all my resources, but we're all over the place in this one. I think the 7 is somewhat interesting, probably as more of a C prospect for me. And then certainly I don't want to be left without the 3 and the 4. I mean, they could win. It's hard because I know I'm already so deep in previous races that to basically have a coverall. I mean, I'm the only one I'm not using is race day speed, and that one didn't score well last time, and yet came out pretty well. So I don't know. I struggle with this race a lot. The horses 1 for 1. So I guess if you're gonna go 6 deep, you might as well go 7 at that point and just hit the all, because otherwise it will be the one you don't hit that's gonna beat you. So we are really struggling at this point to find a horse that we can really key our whole thing around. This next one is, I think, a little interesting. So if Curbstone had been with a relevant race, this one would have been our benchmark speed figure winner. This one also rates out as the top as a split 100, and this horse comes out top on the T3. So for me, I'm going to go 2 and 3, I think, in this spot. Outside of that, as I'm looking through things, I'm worried that the 7, even though it's a front runner, I don't have a ton of early pace on this one. I'm not sure that this one is going to be able to get the job done. And I looked through the other ones, and there's just not a ton of horses that have a lot really going for them. The one exception to that, I might say, is the 1 who's that first time starter. So maybe just buy the inside post positions and hope that that's good enough on the turf. I think I would just use that as a 1, 2, 3. I think if you're going to play this pick 6 tomorrow, I think you almost have to stay away from Caveman Ticket. I think you have to really look at using more of the Steve Christ ABC type structure, and just try and get as much coverage. You're not looking to press up tomorrow in this type of a sequence. You're just looking to cash a ticket. So in this race, um, again, I've got a difficult situation. We're on the Tapeta here, 5.5 furlongs, class level 9. The Tapeta typically hasn't really been much of a bias in terms of a speed. Certainly, front runners have been doing well. Off the pace runners, just off the pace, have been doing well. You don't want deep closers, and even mid packers can struggle a little bit. Certainly at the 5.5 furlongs, but what has been a little more prevalent is horses from the inside. If a struggle, you definitely, it seems like, want to be pouncing to the outside as you go. I'm in a tough spot here. Mr. Kelly's kind of interesting at a price. And since the price is good, I think I would probably put that one on my A line. Self-taught is a closer. I don't see the pace being real good for that one, so I'm not going to utilize that one. I do like the number 4 here, going to be on the lead or near it early, and I think that's important to have. Um, Rates out really well on our split 100 number. Also, the number 7 Trophy Cat, I just is a horse I always seem to I like the running style that this one runs with, and I think could be well suited in this spot. And I would probably use the one on a B line. I don't really want to go much farther. This is a race where the other ones, and not that they'd be all that surprising, but I guess the 3 also Kui is he's a come from behind type horse, and that makes me a little nervous. But I would keep him as a worthy B type horse. Um, Race 10 again, not making it easy on people. We've got a number of horses that don't necessarily have relevant speed figures, but I think this is just a highly competitive field as well. For me, this is a situation where as I'm looking at this, I think this might be my lean. And the reason for that is pretty simple. I've got a horse that's almost a benchmark speed figure that you need to be 5 points higher to get that one. Basically comes out almost as the top runner, and I'm not sure at this point who's going. The six, Basquiat may, but the six likes to run from behind. The late kick home seems like this one should have the edge. So because I'm so deep everywhere else, I'm going to be singled through the five tomorrow, and that may not be the wisest decision overall, but I think it's one that I probably have to look at. I think Basquiat is kind of an interesting player, just from the sake of early pace and getting with the race flow on the turf. That's very important. The 10 might have a little bit of close. I don't mind using some of those if they are lower on the ticket. Kobla Moss is one that just doesn't really interest me all that much, even though it rates out pretty well. It feels like a lot of the ratings that it has the tops in just are kind of empty or hollow. So I think if I were going to go and look to another horse, I might be looking to like call Kurt maybe. As sort of a sit off and pounce. I mean, I still don't think you want to be coming from out of the clouds here. So I might, I would probably put these ones further down the ticket, but I think Basquiat's interesting at a price. I don't really want to be taking other, close in odds ones. So I might go like 2, 6, and 7 on a C line, but in a sequence where I can't really take a stand anywhere else, this might just be. I know I'm taking the favorite, but I'm getting probably value because I think this is going to be a race where there's a lot of spread, and then maybe I can cash the ticket that way. I don't know. Like I said, this is just a really challenging sequence top to bottom. And this is sort of me going through it for the first time. Normally, by the time I do these videos, I've gone through it a couple times and things have really solidified. I don't know if I'm going to be any more solid 10 looks from now. This is just a really difficult way to pay this thing out. The good news is, I think when you have these, you can spread, and if you find the combination, you can really make people pay. Because I think there's a pretty good possibility that if you land on this one tomorrow, you're going to be splitting the pool between a very small number of people. Because I just see it having a lot of chaos, and so I think there's going to be very few small tickets. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's a jackpot hit tomorrow. Moving on to this last one, to me, the horse that really kind of stands out. I have a couple of them. One of them is Captain Thunder, who just rates out really well in a lot of different categories, but will be middling. I don't hate that on the Tapeta, but it's also not exactly where I want to be. I like the 7 Benefactor, and I like the 9 Uhtred. Uh, those ones are sort of my top selections. Beyond that, I think you're going to be sort of stretching for others. I mean, certainly you could look at someone like a Devoted Kitten or a Rocket Joe Copper, but if you're going to the B and the C line, how many times can you, in a sequence that you think is wide open, how many times can you go back to the 9-2, 4-1 well? I think if you can find one of these horses down here that interests you, then those are definite plays. But when it's another horse that's at the top of the market, I just don't see a lot of value. As I'm looking through and just trying to get a gauge for if any of these could potentially shock, I mean, maybe Miracle Silver would be the most intriguing at 15-1. That might be one. Here Comes Bullets run some nice races. Certainly at least shows up in places. Those would probably be the two that I would be most interested in using. But again, I think probably the 2, 7, and 9 are the way that I would go there. So that's kind of how I see this. Now, if we were to go caveman style ticket, let's just see what we have here. I'm going to assume this is a single here. We might actually be able to get away with this using a single there. So I'm going to use ABCs in all of them, and I'm going to do this caveman style. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're using 6 horses in our first leg here. I'm not talented enough to do this math in my head, so I'm going to use my calculator. By 7 horses, and then we're going to use 3 horses Buy 5 horses. Buy 1 horse. I don't need to type that one in. Buy 3 horses equals that times 20 cents. So if you were to use all of these selections just as is, it would be a $378 ticket. Which I don't actually think is terrible if you're going to try and swing at this 50-cent pick six ticket, or this, sorry, 20-cent Rainbow Six. But again, I would say for most players, I'm assuming that you have a slightly smaller bankroll than that, looking to really hone in and hit at least 3A opinions would be a good opportunity, I think, because you start going back and now you've got, a 3 by 1 by 3, which is 9, 27, and then you've got, what, 27 by 3. If I did my math right, that's about if you just use all the A's, it's about a $49 ticket, which is great. It's a big cost savings, but if you've played the Pick Six before, and especially in a sequence like this, that's not going to be enough to cut it. You're going to get knocked out that way. So, if you want to look and maybe use A's and C's, A's, B's, and C's in like race number 6, and then maybe A's and B's in 7, and then just A's, just A's, just A's, and just A's. So you could probably even use the B's in that situation. Play around with it and see what really works within your budget. And we do have a ticket constructor that you can use on our website. It's $5 to purchase, but it's a Google Sheet and it will allow you to play around and add tickets and subtract tickets and so on and so forth. So if you're really unfamiliar with that, you're just like, I just need somebody to help me with what these tickets are, that tool can be a great help to you. Otherwise, like I said, just kind of play around with it and make sure that whatever you're playing fits your budget, but also gives you a reasonable opportunity to hit the wager. One thing that I like about mandatory payout days is it tends to bring in people who are playing Gulfstream just because they're feeling good after Pegasus yesterday. Normally they play Santa Anita, for example, but they know there's a mandatory payout. They're going to try and jump in on that. While they're there, they're going to also throw in a pick 5 ticket, a pick 4 ticket. So if you can't make the pick 6 fit your budget, just know that on these days the pools do tend to get a little inflated, and sometimes you can find good value in the pick 3 or the pick 4, or even the daily double if that's what really fits your bankroll. So lots of different options there. With that, that's kind of my take on the Sunday card from Gulfstream Park. I just want to say a big thank you to everybody. Our Pegasus World Cup preview video was the most watched on our channel. Got some new subscribers. Got some of you liking and reaching out, which I just love. Continue to do that. Thank you so much for making T3 a part of your handicapping process. I really appreciate it. And of course, as always, cash those tickets.